Kaime's words echoed in Fu Delay's mind, emphasizing that Cherry was now Fu Delay's responsibility, instructing him to protect her as she was considered his possession. He also stressed that Fu Delay should draw his sword if anyone attempted to take something from him. With anger burning inside Fu Delay, he also remembered Cherry asking him if she would be protected. As Fu Delay's expression darkened with anger, he reaffirmed his role, asserting himself as Cherry's master. He made a solemn pledge to protect Cherry, vowing that with Fu Delay, no one could take her away or harm her. Inside the tent, Muki forcibly tore Cherry's clothes as she resisted. Fear filled Cherry's face, while Muki wore a perverted grin. Right then behind Muki, Fu Delay appeared, ready to strike with his sword. Fu Delay's thoughts echoed his determination to protect Cherry's safety, firmly believing that with him, no one could tear her away, and no one could hurt her. As the rage he felt, Fu Delay intensely swung the sword at Muki's back, causing him to spew blood. Muki managed to turn around but was caught off guard as Fu Delay approached with his sword. In the final act, Fu Delay cursed him and screamed die, slashing out Muki's neck. Muki's cries of pain were drowned in the tent, and Cherry witnessed the horrifying scene as blood splashed in front of her and stained the tent. Cherry called out to Fu Delay in distress while looking at him with full blood. Fu Delay responded by calling her little Cherry, to which Cherry responded in agony. Fu Delay advised Cherry to hide for now, believing that the outside might have heard the noise. He told Cherry to take his headband and find Kaimei, who had promised to send her away. As the tears fell from her eyes, Cherry expressed her concern for Fu Delay. As he wiped the tears from Cherry's face, he explained to her that the man he had killed belonged to the 9th Prince's Infantry Battalion and they wouldn't just let him go. He consoled Cherry by gently resting his forehead against hers. Cherry, still crying, asked if they couldn't leave together. In response, Fu Delay regretfully declined, emphasizing that she must go to his brother for safety. Despite Cherry's pleas, asking him to not leave her, Fu Delay assured her that as a prince, he would survive and asked her not to cry, urging her to hide well. Cherry continued to address him as master. However, Fu Delay exited his tent, and the sight of him covered in blood alarmed the concerned men. One man questioned why the prince was covered in blood, while another speculated if there were an assassin. Another person inquired about the noise. Curiosity spread among the onlookers, drawing more attention. Fu Delay responded with defiance, stating that he was just killed a pervert and questioning the fuss. One onlooker's expression appeared shocked. Another onlooker noticed a lifeless body on the ground. Realization was dawned on them as they recognized the deceased man as Boss Muki. Fu Delay affirmed that he was responsible for Muki's death, citing Muki's failure to obey the law. A man raised concerns, pointing out that Muki was an important general in the army. Another interjected, questioning Fu Delay's right to punish Muki, especially considering his affiliation with the 9th Prince. Some stated the rules about killing comrades and following military orders. Tensions escalated as some of the men demanded Fu Delay's arrest, brandishing their spears and gesturing towards him. At the watchtower in Ring Camp, Jin Wendao and Kaimei were talking above and inquiring about Kaimei's well-being with a concerned tone, wondering if he felt well and if he was ready to join him in command. Kaimei replied in a weary voice, assuring Jin Wendao that it was nothing serious and he just needed some sleep and he'd be fine. Jin Wendao repeated what Kaimei said as nothing serious, and he questioned him if he could go into battle. Seeking further details, Kaimei asked if Jin Wendao meant to attack the city. Jin Wendao explained that if the other side didn't surrender, he might have no other choice but to attack. Voicing his doubts, Kaimei expressed concern about how sure Jin Wendao was that he could be with his troops when the other side was not easy to deal with. While sipping his tea, Jin Wendao questioned whether Kaimei's soldiers were not going to fight, hinting at his true motive in seeking his help to save Fu Delay. He then questioned Kaimei's reasons for wanting to save him. Kaimei cited Fu Delay's status, emphasizing his relationship as their father's son. Jin Wendao seemed dismissive, mentioning that their father had many sons and daughters and that he couldn't remember this bastard son. With urgency, Jin Wendao highlighted the significance of the infantry battalion, its elite unit in their army, with numerous battle achievements, and Muki was highly reputable among them. He explained that once Muki died, it would be a group without a leader. No killing would be enough to calm the soldiers' anger. Offering imperial tea, Jin Wendao encouraged Kaimei to try it. However, Kaimei seriously looked at him, but Jin Wendao noted that Kaimei needn't drink it if he wasn't used to it. Jin Wendao's expression was serious as he explained the futility of seeking his help. He emphasized the need to appease the infantry battalion in the camp and find a scapegoat to push the blame. He also noted the absence of an available general for tomorrow's attack. Kaimei remained resolute, expressing his desire to be the vanguard of the battle for the lead of the infantry battalion, causing Jin Wendao to surprisingly react. Jin Wendao raised doubts about Kaimei's decision, highlighting the high casualty ratio within the infantry battalion and Kaimei's current inability to command them. But Kaimei was determined and insisted on asking Jin Wendao for information about the timing of their attack on the city. Jin Wendao revealed their plan to attack the city the next day at midnight. After their conversation with Kaimei, his men approached Jin Wendao and asked him if Muki's death was something they couldn't just let go of. Jin Wendao chuckled, acknowledging his men's worrying about tomorrow's attack on the city and implying that swords don't have eyes. With an eerie smirk, Jin Wendao assured his men that they would have the opportunity to seek revenge. During that time, within the ring camp, Kaimei went to Fu Delay's tent, who had been tied up in a crucified-like position as punishment for his actions. Kaimei muttered, "Silly younger brother." Kaimei expressed concern, questioning if it was worth it for that dirty woman. Fu Delay sought affirmation, asking if he was wrong. Kaimei reassured him, stating that he wasn't wrong. Kaimei spoke of the harsh realities of the world, where those without power had to watch as everything was taken away from them. He described how loved ones could be killed, relatives harmed, and the humiliation of wives and children, all within the human world. Fu Delay inquired about little Cherry, expressing concern for her well-being. Kaimei paused for a moment before delivering the devastating news. He then informed Fu Delay that she was dead. At that moment, Fu Delay's soul felt like it had been stabbed by a spear. His desperation led him to attempt to break free from his restraints, the sound of handcuffs clicking. Fu Delay cried out in frustration, demanding to know why, emphasizing the promises that had been made to him. Kaimei explained the grim situation, emphasizing that someone had to take the blame for the situation, and it had to be either Fu Delay or Cherry. He disclosed that Cherry had willingly accepted all the blame, falsely confessing to killing the general to save Fu Delay. Kaimei revealed that Cherry had taken the entire blame upon herself, even though it was just some poorly made lies, but he had no intention of saving her. He confessed to lacking a scapegoat and didn't bother to find one. As a result, she had been executed by court-martial. With resolve, Kaimei offered advice, telling Fu Delay that as a military leader with great merit, no one would be able to bother him. As Kaimei slowly walked away, he encouraged Fu Delay to stay safe and promised him once they were done capturing the city, they would go back to the tribe to gather an elite warrior. Kaimei glanced back at Fu Delay and declared that they would then compete with others to rule the world. Meanwhile, Fu Delay was hunched over, tears streaming down his face, as he could only cry in pain while remembering Cherry's face. Fu Delay lamented over the words he spoke, those loud, bold, and childish words, realizing that he could not protect anything, that he only was locked there like a dead dog. As the tears streamed down his face, he acknowledged his weakness. The next day morning, the Ring launched an all-out attack. The Ring armies were currently positioned, and Xiao Yu was in front while he was bound on the cart. Exhausted, Xiao Yu uttered his plea to kill him repeatedly. On the high wall in Toad Village, Fei Hu clenched his jaw, and Fei Bao was beside him while looking at Ring armies. A warrior reported to Jin Wendao that they were already within range of the Toad Village archers, but Jin Wendao ordered them to keep advancing. The distance between the Ring tribe and Toad Village steadily decreased from 700 paces to 500, then to 300. As the gate of Toad Village slowly creaked open and revealed Cheng Dale riding on a horse while wearing a straw cape and his axe on his back. The warrior standing next to Jin Wendao wondered why there was only one person and questioned what Cheng Dale would do, and suspected that opening the gate meant they were surrendering or preparing to fight to the bitter end. Cheng Dale continued to advance, facing everyone in the Ring tribe. In a weakened state, Xiao Yu called out to Cheng Dale, his face and body bearing the marks of numerous scars. Stuttering, Xiao Yu expressed mixed emotions, suggesting that Cheng Dale shouldn't have come but also thanked him with a faint smile crossing his lips. Those who hold fire for the world must not freeze to death in the snowstorm. In front of Toad Village, Jin Wendao noticed Cheng Dale acting a bit strangely, and asked his armies who wanted to kill him. Meng Zian volunteered to fight Cheng Dale, confident that he knew the abilities of Cheng Dale were almost trash. With a grim smile forming on Meng Zian's face, he rushed towards Cheng Dale, insulting him. Cheng Dale swiftly drew his swords and struck Meng Zian down with a single powerful slash, while he cursed him to die. Meng Zian thought to himself that there were such fast swords in the world, and he also noticed that Cheng Dale was giving off a strong killing intent. In a one-on-one battle, Meng Zian was defeated. His body lay on the ground, covered in his own blood. Cheng Dalei's swords dripped with blood, leaving the Ring tribe in fear. Jin Wendao questioned Cheng Dalei's unusual attire, to which Cheng Dalei responded that he wore it because it was going to rain, causing Jin Wendao to question him. Cheng Dalei claimed that his master was the South Pole Immortal, Marshal Tianpeng was his senior, and Teibai Golden Star was his sword brother. He then threatened to use Immortal Kai to consume their souls, but the Ring armies responded with disbelief and mockery. Some of them shouted mockingly, while others taunted Cheng Dalei, questioning his claim to immortality. Laughter erupted among the armies, with some suggesting that Cheng Dalei was senselessly scared, as Cheng Dalei remained resolute and warned them that he would subject them to half a day of trial and hardship. Jin Wendao joined in the laughter, finding the situation highly amusing. He commented on Cheng Dalei's fantasy of mastering an immortal technique, leading to more laughter and agreement from the Ring armies. As Cheng Dalei stood still, he opened his arms. He said that the wind was coming. The system slightly opened her eyes when suddenly the leaves in the trees began to rustle, and the flags from the armies were fluttering in the wind. The system and Cheng Dalei performed synchronized actions. They both said the ritual, gathered the clouds, and then thunder. Suddenly, a thunderous rumble filled the air as lightning struck down, startling not only Jin Wendao, but also his people behind him. They were all in shock. Continuing with their coordinated movements, Cheng Dalei looked up and sighed with relief that it finally came. Suddenly, rain began to pour, and Jin Wendao, caught off guard, was drenched as rainwater streamed down his face, causing him to nearly lose his balance on his horse. While the Ring tribe armies were in a state of hysteria, they repeatedly shouted that it was raining. Jin Wendao expressed his astonishment at Cheng Dalei's extraordinary abilities, pondering if he might be immortal, and questioned whether Cheng Dalei, as a disciple of an immortal, could truly summon wind and rain. The Ring armies were in awe, confirming that Marshal Tianpeng was indeed Cheng Dalei's brother and that his brother had sent down heavy rain to save him. Then the armies began chanting that Cheng Dalei was immortal. Cheng Dalei continued to intimidate them, addressing them as mere mortals, and warning them not to offend the power of heaven. He then advanced aggressively toward the Ring tribe while threatening them, saying that they should fear heaven's punishment, and declared to kill them. The Ring tribe warriors were so confused that they didn't react. Cheng Dalei took the opportunity to save Xiao Yu, slicing through the ropes that had bound him. Jin Wendao dismissed Cheng Dalei's abilities as tricks and urged his men not to be afraid, ordering them to kill Cheng Dalei. Cheng Dalei, holding Xiao Yu, hastily retreated to their village, with Ring tribe members in pursuit, accusing him of being a swindler. Cheng Dalei called for Zai Long's whereabouts, and Zai Long responded, indicating his arrival with Kinman. He shouted to cover Cheng Dalei. However, Jin Wendao commanded his people to charge and break through the city. The Ring tribe armies screamed kill as they charged Cheng Dalei. The dragon gave the order that the rain spread over the sky and the earth. The impulses were like the Milky Way pouring into the trench, and the velocity was like the cloud flowing through the sea gate. The dragon took this opportunity to help and lifted the Yangtze River to look down. All the Ring men were rushing toward Toad Village, ready to kill them all. In the heavy rain, the arrows lost their purpose. Zai Long, Kinman, and Zhang Fei were trying to hold the Ring tribe at the gate, slashing at the approaching Ring armies. While fighting, Zai Long urged his comrades to retreat, ensuring that Cheng Dalei had retreated safely. Zhang Fei and Kinman acknowledged his command. As the Ring armies continued to advance, Jin Wendao ordered Kai Mei to lead their troops and break through the city. Kai Mei rallied the infantry troops, saying, "Long live children of eternal nature." He then urged them to break through the city with him. The Ring armies roared in response as they went inside the Toad Village. As the saying goes, if you defend for a long time you'll lose. There's no reason why you can't break it. Cheng Dalei called for everyone to take their positions and get ready. A person hurriedly instructed others to bring out the stuff. Today, for the first time, the gates of the Toad Village were breached. As the Ring armies were inside the Toad Village, others wondered if it was an Urn City, while some questioned why the Urn City was located inside. Jin Wendao, who was still outside of the Toad Village, commanded his armies, indicating 2 ways for them to proceed. Teams 2 and 3 were given specific orders to open passages on the left and right sides of the city. In response, the Ring armies charged forward, roaring as they advanced and infiltrated the Toad Village. At the high wall in Toad Village, the warriors warned the others by telling everybody to be careful that Rings were coming while some were defending the intersection. However, on the opposite side, the Ring armies with shields were ordered to break the lines of defense. In the subsequent set, other Ring armies were commanded to break through, with a siege team attempting to break down the gates of the Urn City. Jin Wendao motivated his troops by promising rewards to the first ones to break through the city, causing Ring armies to charge forward. and their roars echoed inside Urn City as they breached it. People poured into the gates, and their numbers continued to grow, with more and more people gathering. Amidst the chaos among the ring armies, calls were made to make way for the siege hammer. Some urged their comrades to charge forward, while others questioned why the walls couldn't be breached. As the rain poured heavily, Cheng Dale stood atop the wall while watching the ring armies trying to get inside the village. He then said that this site was the so-called inviting them into the Urn City. He then called the attention of the ring armies, calling them ring tribe scum, berating them for daring to offend the might of heaven, and claimed to perform a thunder summoning technique. Then, Kin Man threw the box of fire, causing a massive explosion. Suddenly, the ring armies were left in fear. Some believed Cheng Dale could summon lightning, while others believed that he was the reincarnation of an immortal. Due to Cheng Dale's cleverness, the fear points increased rapidly. Kai Mei, however, recognized the use of gunpowder and attempted to reassure the ring armies that Cheng Dale was merely playing tricks. In a different setting, Cheng Dale's group quietly moves the explosive bombs out of the warehouse, telling others to take care not to let the gunpowder get wet from the rain. They hurriedly lit the fire and dropped each of the bombs below. The ring armies got hit by the bombs, and some were thrown away. Amidst the chaos, some ring armies believed it was divine retribution, stating that they had angered the immortal. The fear points continued to increase significantly. In another setting, a warrior in Toad Village wonders why explosive gunpowder was still there, recalling that this place should have been emptied. Others urged him to hurry, not to waste any time. Cheng Dale exchanged gunpowder, purchasing it from the system in this alternate setting. The system chuckles and informs him that the gunpowder has been processed for him and is ready to use, even waterproofed. In the midst of war, Kai Mei, consumed by anger, still commands his troops to charge, emphasizing that breaking the city is their only chance of survival. He urged them to kill. Internally, Kai Mei wondered how the toad gunpowder could still work in the rain. Suddenly, he was struck by an explosion, causing him to fall on his horse. Concerned ring armies shouted for him to run away, others saying that he must retreat, calling Cheng Dale immortal. Kai Mei cursed in his thought, wondering why the toad had so much gunpowder. He realized that his armies were frightened and had begun to ignore his commands. All of the ring army's fighting spirit is broken as they frantically run away from the explosion. Some even stumbled in their haste. However, Kai Mei stood still while looking above the wall, surrounded by his panicking army. While the rain was dripping on his face, Kai Mei reflected on the situation. As he thought that he was going to win, he was hit head-on. With conviction, he addressed Cheng Dale's Urn City as a pot that would cook everyone to death. His words resonated during the explosive chaos that surrounded them. Outside Toad Village, Jin Wendao commanded his army to charge, threatening those who stepped back with beheading if the information of the battlefield was drowned in endless rainstorms and explosions. Some ring armies continued to charge, but they found the gate blocked by the corpses of their comrades, and the information couldn't be conveyed. More people jumped into the pot. The gates were crowded with ringers who wanted to escape this infernal hell. Explosions rang out behind them, and the corpses and rocks were splashing everywhere. More people outside were pushed in, blocking the gates and cutting off the way out. Then, everyone became enemies. Back inside the Urn City of Toad Village, the ring armies became hostile toward each other. Some ringers were screaming, telling others to not block the way. However, Fu Delay was pressed against the wall while looking at his companions. He thought that they were becoming crazy as they were killing each other. As he witnessed the violence and fear, he could hear the sounds of explosions and fighting, and he found himself surrounded by blood. He then tightly gripped his sword. Fu Delay couldn't help but think this was hell. In the midst of his thoughts, a ring army spotted him, accompanied by another ring army. They rushed to attack Fu Delay, seeking revenge for Muki's life. But Kai Mei suddenly arrived and killed the two ringers. Overwhelmed, Fu Delay called Kai Mei's name. Kai Mei scolded Fu Delay, called him an idiot, and expressed concern for how he had gotten there and was still there. Fu Delay simply addressed him in response. Suddenly, Kai Mei quickly defended Fu Delay from their comrades who were behind him, and Fu Delay was left stunned by the turn of events. Kai Mei grabbed Fu Delay and urged him to come with him, emphasizing that the battle was lost, and staying would only lead to death. Together, they ran toward the gate, but many ringers were blocking their way. While the ringers near the gate desperately called others to move aside or expressed that they were doomed, as the gate was blocked by corpses and could not get out. As Kai Mei approached, he went on a rampage, slaughtering the ringers to clear their path for their escape. He shouted at them to get away. The ringers' screams filled the air as they were tossed aside. Walking on a path paved with corpses, paddled through a river of blood. The sword in the hand was the oar that cut the flow of blood. This was a path from the Yellow Springs to the human world. The city gate was already a sea of corpses and blood. From inside the city to outside the city, every direction led to the mountains of human corpses. Fu Delay attempted to speak to his brother, but Kai Mei frustratingly silenced Fu Delay and instructed him to follow. Kai Mei told him that he would get Fu Delay out of there. He then carried Fu Delay on his shoulder and made his way through the mountain of corpses and managed to throw Fu Delay outside the gate. Struggling to stand, Fu Delay called Kai Mei and urged him to come quickly, but within moments, explosive gunpowder hit Kai Mei and Fu Delay saw it as he screamed brother in terror. As his blood spread everywhere, Kai Mei's body was among the piled up corpses, and he coughed drops of blood. While Fu Delay attempted to pull Kai Mei from the mound of corpses, he had used all his strength to pull Kai Mei out. But he didn't have much strength. Even with all his strength, he couldn't do anything. Powerless, what an annoying word. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change anything, even if you've already given it your all. Overwhelmed by grief, Fu Delay cried bitterly while attempting to help Kai Mei. Kai Mei, in a weakened state, consoled Fu Delay, patting his head and urging him to grow up quickly and not be a loser in the future. He smiled faintly and repeatedly said to Fu Delay to grow up fast as he tried to wipe away Fu Delay's tears. As Kai Mei faded away from this world, Fu Delay was left alone outside the city, which led to the human world. There was no one left to stand beside him, to take his hand and clear the way for him. He had to walk the following path alone. Meanwhile, Jin Wendao angrily commanded his troops to kill those who were attempting to retreat. As the saying went, the defeat of an army was like a mountain whose fall could in no way be stopped by the strength of a single person. The battlefield was constantly changing, and the winner or loser could change at any time. The barbarians became a cauldron, and that cauldron shook and crumpled. Half of Jin Wendao's troops melted away. After that, the cleaning of corpses alone took Cheng Dalei 10 days. The siege of King New Mountain was only a small battlefield for the invasion of the rings. And on the border with the empire, hundreds of tribes of the ring joined together in a mega alliance and declared war on the empire on all fronts. All the princes of the ring tribe led their own armies and invaded by force. In Pingju City, the defenders encountered the rings and collapsed at the first encounter, fleeing for their lives, while the city lord disappeared without a trace. The city lord of Pingju refused to defend the city, stating that only stupid people would try to defend it. On the northwestern edge, a renowned general struggled to survive and looked eastward, hoping for provisions to arrive. In the capital city, someone expressed skepticism about General Lin potentially taking control of the imperial court, and decided to delay military food supplies to him. In another location, there were also scholars who had given up writing to join the army. There were also leaders who had taken refuge on the south side of the river. In a water village in the south of the river, a team of merchants rushed to the capital with great haste. On the same street, another merchant sold his family's possessions in exchange for 100,000 quintals of rice to supply the army in the north. In the northwest lands, Xingzai, the sixth prince of the kingdom, stood by a city, urging its inhabitants to resist the rings with him as he raised his seal above. There was never a shortage of profit-driven villains in this country, and there was no shortage of heroes who swam against the tide. Even more so, the ordinary people were tired of running away and trying to survive. That year, the rings came like a flood, and the borders of the empire were on fire. While in King Niu Mountain, on the other hand, it was like a puddle basin. When the water-like stream of soldiers flowed through it, it could not go any further, and the more they accumulated, the greater the accumulation was. At the high wall in Taoed village, Shenji alerted Cheng Dalei to check the ring's camp, pointing out that there were more people in the ring camp. Shenji expressed astonishment, noting that this time there were many people, at least 5,000, as he gestured toward the ring's camp direction. Cheng Dalei responded with a hint of worry, remarking that Shenji seemed overly excited about people coming from the opponent's side. In his thoughts, Cheng Dalei couldn't understand why the Rings camp was so angry toward him. He reflected on the fact that new people continued to join the Rings camp every day, estimating that there were probably more than 100,000 Ring members now, and lamented the loss of their deployed spies, making it impossible to assess the enemy's situation accurately. Cheng Dalei explained that with only 2,000 fighters against 100,000, the probability of holding their position was close to zero unless they were supplied with a truckload of Cat 98K. Curious, Shenji asked for clarification about the Cat 98K, and Cheng Dalei explained it as a powerful murder weapon, which Shenji understood. Shenji pondered that the Rings might be hostile as they killed their people, but Cheng Dalei believes most wars are driven by profit. Then, with a hint of humor, he seriously considered the possibility that they might be jealous of his good looks, to which Shenji reacted with silence, clearly not sharing Cheng Dale's sense of humor. Continuing to boost himself, Cheng Dale sighed as he blamed himself, remarking on the challenges faced by beautiful people. Growing impatient, Shenji called Cheng Dale's attention and asked him if anyone had ever told him that he had a bigger mouth than their city walls. Cheng Dale responded with a mischievous giggle.